just in case you guys are unaware of, Shits and Gigs are a podcast that are based in the UK. They basically do commentary on regular situations, and I think they also read like social media posts and blog posts, and they kind of react to that kind of stuff. So recently they went on a show called Flagrant, which is hosted by Andrew Schultz, and I believe his co-host's name is Akash. And then they made jokes pretty much centering around black women and making very extreme jokes.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining about it all the time.
Shxtsngigs and Gigs laughed at the jokes. They thought it was funny because, like I said before, it is a joke. And then when they came back, apparently Shxtsngigs and Gigs audience didn't find the joke too much funny. So then they pretty much did a fake apology.
Yeah, there were a few jokes made that were incredibly inappropriate. One specifically pertaining to black women. That obviously there's just literally no excuse. There is no excuse.
Agreed.
My whole take on this is, are we really judging corny jokes like they're facts, and are we really judging comedians like they're politicians? This joke was obviously hyperbole. Like, he said black women stress me out so much that your hair falls out. Like, something obviously to be taken as a joke that's not that serious. If you don't find it funny, then that's fine. That you don't find a joke funny, that's fair enough. But to sit there and say that, you know, it's racist or they need to be checked for making the joke, to me is absolutely ridiculous. They're comedians. Being a comedian, comedy is one of those arts that you can pretty much say anything and it shouldn't be taken seriously. Like, I don't know how you can examine comedy and all of a sudden act like it's a fact that you would see in the encyclopedia. Like, I don't know, that to me is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, of course they weren't taking it literally. The idea is they were offended because the root of the joke is that, oh, angry, mad black woman, that same trope that's been pushed for years, right? And so their audience, from what I understand, is majority or largely women, and probably a lot of black women. And so they were offended by that joke. And so these guys did their fake apology, which to me, I mean, I'm imagining their fans can't buy it. So what that means to me is if their fans know they're not genuine in their apology, that means they want to be lied to, which is a whole other topic. But that's how I see it. Like, you are so sensitive that you have to have these guys come out and give you a fake apology so you feel better. But from what I've seen, they said something similar to what they were laughing at on their podcast before they even went on Andrew Schultz. So that lets you know that they really do, at some level, buy into the stereotype that they're making.
I don't think buy into the stereotype, but they just like the joke.
I think they buy into the stereotype because they made the joke. In every joke, there's a little bit of truth.
Yeah. And that's actually something that I was going to bring up, right? So are there jokes made about black men that I'm obviously not in love with, but they are funny and that they do have some sort of truth? Like, I remember one comedian, and to be honest with you, I really don't remember his name. I don't remember how the joke was exactly, but pretty much how the joke went is that when you see a black guy with a white woman, she's got to be overweight. Like, that was basically the whole sentence of it. Is there a little bit of truth in that? Yeah, there's a little bit of truth in it. Is that every single black guy that's with a white woman? Absolutely not. And the way that I see it is, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. Like, obviously, like, if it's your president saying this and he's saying it like it's a fact, if you're offended, makes sense. I completely get it. But when it's a comedian, it's part of a stand-up, or it's part of a show where they just say crazy say crazy things, it's called flagrant. You're kind of getting what you expect.
That's true. And I will say that, okay, I'll blame them for that. They went on Andrew Schultz's show. They should know and be aware of the type of content that he makes. It's not on his fan base to... His fan base did not control... Or their fan base didn't control them going on that show. So I agree with you that it's a comedy and Andrew Schultz can say what he said. If you don't like it, that's fine. But they're just checking in to see their two favorite creators. And it happens to be that their two favorite creators, who they're not used to making this kind of content, are co-signing by laughing and giggling along to a joke they find offensive.
But no, you brought up a good point earlier. You said they've made a joke like that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So if they made a joke like that in the past, and that's their fan base that's been with them, like, listen, if it's new fans and they're getting mad, I can kind of understand that. But if it's old fans and they know that they've made this joke in the past, I can see why Shxtsngigs didn't mind laughing, because they're like, okay, with their fan base, they're used to us watching this. They're used to us doing this kind of comedy, it shouldn't be a big deal.
Apparently, it's from before they blew up. So
I see what you're saying. So yeah, okay, it's a new fan base. Yeah, guys, I ultimately just think that people are just being way too sensitive about this. I just think ultimately, I think the thing I like about comedy is that like no one is safe. Everyone can get a joke made fun of out of them, and I think that's like a great part. That's one of the things I like about my friend group too, is that like we can all make fun of each other. It's not a big deal. I think as soon as you say like, okay, well, this group of people is off the table and you can't say anything, I think ultimately that hurts that group of people, because then people are just going to leave you out of stuff because they're like, okay, you're too sensitive. I think we've all had an experience with someone who was a little bit too sensitive, and it gets to a point where you don't even want them around because it's like, okay, you got to watch every little thing that you got to say. Do I think that's every black woman or a mass majority of black women? No, I don't. But I think for their particular fan base, I just think it's one of those things. Like, I mean, it's jokes. It's not that serious. Just don't be sensitive about it, man. There's so many other things in the world that you could be mad at, and bad things that actually happen, and you're mad at a joke that's just ridiculous. I mean, come on, like hair falling out, like really, like I'll be honest, I didn't find the joke funny. I found it like a little bit corny. I mean, it's to each his own. It's a joke. Not everyone's gonna find everything funny.
Again, I agree. I don't think the jokes were funny. I thought they were kind of corny as well. I got the underlying message of it.
Yeah.
They were just being extreme. I mean, because they're trying to be funny, but it just wasn't that funny. But Shxtsngigs having to come out, Shxtsngigs having to come out and do this dramatic fake apology to me is just another symptom of or consequence of this cancel culture bug that's going around.
Yeah,
it's just it's too much. Again, they know their fan base. They're trying to protect their bag. I understand that, but their fan base is sensitive. But they also, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think it was unnecessary, but I understand why they did it, because they're trying to protect their money. And if their fan base needs to be appeased, that's what they should do to protect their money. So.
Yeah. They're doing it for business reasons, not because they actually think it is. I don't know. I think overall the situation, I mean, I think it's just weak in general. I think the biggest elephant in the room, if we're all being honest, it's because Andrew Schultz is white and he said it.
Oh, yeah.
If it was coming from a black guy, they'd be like, all right, whatever. Because he's a white guy, he said it. Like I said before, guys, there've been white people who make jokes about black people in a comedic way. I can learn to laugh at things that have some degree of trueness, not all the way true. It's whatever, man. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering about that part you said about if it was a black guy, it would have been okay. Not okay, but
it would have been a normal day on social media.
But do they not still get, I don't know what the word to
offended?
Use. Oh yeah, offended.
Yeah.
Do they not still like complain about it? You know what I mean?
They complain about it, but it's kind of like, you ever heard them say like, "Oh, male podcasters," and like I think they just throw it all in that same kind of territory.
Like the RPO people territory?
Yeah, I mean that they view that as all male podcasters though. Like that's like a thing that people say, like, oh, male podcasters.
You're talking about like the base we're talking about.
Yeah. So nonetheless, I'm gonna say it's a bad decision to apologize. I mean, I think it's just weak, and I don't know. It just doesn't seem real. Like if you're gonna do an apology, at least make it seem real. This wasn't real at all. So I'm gonna say bad decision. Good decision, bad decision.
See, it's almost like being held hostage or like someone having blackmail over you. Only because if there's a data breach and they're like, oh, we have this data. That's why a lot of companies have a policy like, we're not going to pay these people who hold us for ransom, because they can just leak our information anyways. For these guys, it's like keep having to pretend and watch every little thing you say. Maybe what they should have done is come out and try to clean the joke up or something. I don't know. Bad decision for them to apologize. They might have lost some fans if they didn't, but
I mean, I think there's some fans that are worth losing if we're just being real, just because, like, I mean, you're not going to appease everybody.
Yeah.
And if you're just too sensitive, like, I personally don't like dealing with people that are way too sensitive. Like, it's just annoying. Like, it's like, at that point, it's like, what can you say? I got to be a robot, not to offend you.
Yeah, I see, but this depends, right? If 80% of their fan base are these people who are offended, good decision. You can't just lose all your, like, that's what they do for a living now. You about to give up your business over 30
you're
seconds?
Right. That definitely makes sense. Makes sense.
So it all depends, man.
Yeah.
Just sucks they have to do it.
All right, guys. Nonetheless, this has been Bad Decisions. If you think they made a good decision, leave a comment. If you think they made a bad decision, leave a comment. All right, decision makers. Don't offend anyone.